Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home.
Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Debrief Podcast brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, and I am joined by my co-host, Phil, one of my co-hosts, Phil.
You know, I do feel like Kathleen and Scott's excuses were a little lacking, but that's okay. We'll let them slide this time. Welcome aboard, guys.
So, yeah, I mean, I think Kathleen's going to be back in less than a week, so hopefully we can get the gang all back together once she's back and settled in. I mean, I know you're going away on a trip, so.
Allegedly. Actually, you know what? By the time this airs, there could be a conflict there. Yes, at some point in the near future, I will be away on a trip. Date and destination redacted.
So I mean, it will probably be a few weeks before we have a chance to air an episode with all of us, or even record one with all of us.
Right. So laugh all you want. It just occurred to me the episode that pops tomorrow, there's a bunch of fairy horn in there because we talked about my upcoming trip. So I decided just to redact it all with fairy horn.
Super secretive.
Super secret squirrel. That's me.
Well, this isn't what we're going to talk about, but last weekend already? I did a solo Disney cruise. It was the first time I did a solo cruise, and it was on the Disney Wish, which is, I know, an unpopular opinion, but my favorite ship. And it was 3 nights. I was by myself. I did 2 of the adult only restaurants. So I did one of the main dining rooms the first night. I requested it because I didn't want to go to Arendelle or the Marvel one. I wanted to go to 1923. And they have a delicious filet, which was amazing. And then the second night, I went to Enchanté, which is like the really high-end restaurant. It was the first time I had ever done that. And that was absolutely incredible. And then the last night, I did Palo Steakhouse for dinner, which is part of, like, as a platinum member, you get a free Palo dinner. So I did that. And that was absolutely spectacular. So I had some really amazing meals on board that ship.
Wait a minute. So we are talking about what I think we're talking about, because you started that with "this is not what we're talking about, but here's all the amazing meals I had."
Well, we're not talking about my cruise. I mean, this episode is not about everything I did on the cruise.
Okay,
but
perfect. Because you segued really quick into food.
But I did want to mention my amazing meals that I had on that cruise ship, which I think also when you brought up today's topic, like, I'm still so fixated on the food that I ate on the Disney Wish that I really had to, like, kind of dig deep to remember the things that I love at Disney World.
To be honest, I don't think I actually specified at the resort.
Well,
so
I mean,
you could have some wiggle room there.
This is true. And actually, when you did bring it up, I was thinking, how much time in between, or is this a progressive meal that's going to take place over many days, or is
it going to require a bus trip out to Canaveral to have the progressive meal?
Yeah, and then like a flight to Disneyland.
Oh, if we bring Disneyland in, it totally alters my list.
So what we're talking about is Phil suggested that we hadn't talked about food in a really long time on the episode.
And how is that possible? That's typically all we talk about.
But I don't know. I think because we talked about it so much for a while that we intentionally, at least I was like intentionally like, what can we talk about that's not about food?
For a while. It was like the first year.
Yeah, exactly. And so now we are going to put together a progressive meal, what we would choose as an appetizer, entree, and dessert. And then I'm going to have a little bonus round at the end. So we're going to get to build our meal. And it was harder for me. Like I said, it was harder for me than I thought it was going to be. I am going to stick to Disney World, but I will give some honorable mentions to the things that I loved on the Disney Wish, because those, like I said, that is so fresh in my mind, and the meals were absolutely spectacular. So,
Well, it's like they always say your favorite resort is the one you were at last. So your last trip was on a cruise. So that's what's going to
yeah,
be first and foremost in your head.
exactly. Like when you were talking about, as I was going through it after you brought it up, all I could think about were like the entrees that I had on the ship. So, all right. So let's start this progressive meal off with our appetizers. So, curious to know what you selected.
All right. So I was torn, and I'm going to give you the reason I was torn. If you ask me if my favorite appetizer, I'm probably going to go with the crispy wings at Nomad Lounge if it's a solid sauce, because they don't keep the sauces the same on those wings. It's a seasonal chef's selection of sauces. When we were all there together like a year and a half ago, those wings were phenomenal to die for. So if I were able to have that sweet and spicy sauce on the wings again, it's those wings, hands down. Without knowing what the sauce is, I have to go back to an old reliable, and I'm going over to Tambu for the noodles, because they're always the same every single time. The noodles do not disappoint. I know what I'm going to get. They're good. They're filling. They're arguably one of my favorite parts of the whole Ohana experience, but you can just go to Tambu and get the noodles and be on your way.
All right. Those are some solid choices. I've never had the wings at Nomad Lounge.
You didn't have the wings when we were there together?
I don't think I had one.
You missed out.
I think I had the poke one when we were there together, which is very good, but not an appetizer. So the appetizer course is actually, I mean, this entire exercise was difficult for me, not just because I was most recently on the Wish, but because when I dine out, I am like I love small plates, which is like why I like to go to Wine Bar George, because I can get a bunch of little things. And it's why I like to go to California Grill and sit at the lounge, because you can order a la carte from their, they have both like a lounge menu, and you can order a la carte off of the prefix menu. And I think that the appetizers are really where California Grill shines, much more so than their entrees, which are good, but I think their appetizers are great. So I had to narrow it down, which wasn't really hard for me, because this has been a front runner. And if we ever discussed this before, I'm pretty sure that this is what I chose then, because this has been my number one favorite food item at Walt Disney World for as long as I can remember. And that's the Sonoma goat cheese ravioli at California Grill.
I do believe it's come up before.
Yes. I mean, I've definitely mentioned it before. I don't know if I included it in a progressive meal, but if we did, then I definitely said this before, because I think it's absolutely just such a well done dish. I love goat cheese. I love pasta. I love tomato sauce, but this is more of like a tomato broth, and with some like dried mushrooms in there. It's absolutely delicious. And California Grill always has solid bread. Dipping the bread into that broth is just so good. So, I mean, that is definitely my appetizer. And if I had to pick a runner up, it would probably be the braised short rib wontons from California Grill, because those are also excellent.
Those are excellent. They've been on the menu for a long time, even before the prefix menu.
Yeah, and so is the ravioli. Those two have been staples on that menu. And there was a time where they did take the ravioli off of the menu, and when they put it back on, they changed it a little bit, and it was still good. But I think that they heard from the people. The people spoke and they listened, and so now it is much more similar to the original iteration of that dish. So
I'm going to use this opportunity to go on a little bit of a tangent because it just came up this week with yet another restaurant. I appreciate the culinary talents of all of the chefs that come into the restaurants at Walt Disney World. But when you have a proven winner for a menu, come in, take a dish, add a dish, give it your twist. But this theory that every new chef that comes into a restaurant has to completely revolutionize the menu and take out the favorites is maddening to me. I just looked at the updated Kona Cafe and Kona. Yeah, it's Kona Cafe, I think, right? Yeah, because it's the Kona countertop. But the updated Kona menu, and that restaurant was sliding a little for me in recent years just because the portion sizes were about 25% of what they used to be. But they changed the entire menu. The entire menu is different. And I'm seeing people all over the interwebs talking about how they're canceling their dinner reservations because the menu got changed. Cut it out. Give it your twist. Add a dish, subtract a dish, but stop just tearing the menu up and starting over because you need it to be your signature menu. You're not that important. Trust me.
and also, so many people that are dining there are people who are going to Disney World like once a year, once every other year. So they're returning and they want to have that favorite. It's not like they can go to this restaurant at any time and get this dish. So when somebody's been looking forward to something and then they remove it or change it. I mean, I think that when they changed that ravioli, it was like, why would you take something and why would you mess with perfection? It has been on that menu. It is a crowd favorite for a reason. So honor the tradition of the restaurant and keep that the same. And like you said, add your own flair to other dishes, but keep the crowd favorites the same. I
Completely
totally
agree.
agree with you on that.
Out of curiosity, where do the Brussels sprouts at Yachtsman sit on your appetizer list? Because I do know you're a big fan.
I do love those, but if I were going to pick Brussels sprouts, I would pick the ones at Polite Pig. Those are my absolute favorite on property. So, and
Fair
those
enough.
rank pretty high. I mean, if I had to go like deep on the list, like the ribs from Morimoto Asia, absolutely amazing.
The ribs from Wailulu Grill as well are excellent. I think they're the best thing on the Wailulu menu.
And the mac and cheese bites from Wine Bar George are like a staple that I get every time I go to Disney. Every time I go to Wine Bar George, I have to get those. So, I mean, I could name off a million appetizers. I have more trouble naming entrees because I typically just get small plates. So what do you have for entree?
Well, I was going to say, with that said, your turn. What do you have for an entree? I know
Okay,
you struggled over it.
so I picked the potato wrapped red snapper from Flying Fish.
Another crowd favorite.
It is a crowd favorite, and that is a restaurant that I don't dine at frequently because the couple of times that I've dined there, I have found it to be kind of like inconsistent. Like the service wasn't great. I feel like the first time I ate there, they brought my entree before my appetizer and like just like a lot of weird things happening. But the second time I went, I decided to get the snapper because it is everyone's favorite. So I got it and it was incredible. I mean, I have to say it was absolutely amazing. I wish that I liked the restaurant experience more than I did because I really enjoyed that entree. But since this is a progressive meal and I don't have to have any of my other meals there, this is a perfect opportunity to pop in and have that dish because I think it really was very well done.
You are far from the only person I have heard describe Flying Fish that way. They have typically good meals, but the inconsistency and the service problems just seems to be a recurring theme whenever Flying Fish comes up. Those that have had excellent experiences rave about it, and then immediately half a dozen other people jump in to talk about one of the two, inconsistency or issues with service there.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I especially for, you and I both love the boardwalk and I would and for as many times as I've stayed at the boardwalk, you would think that I would dine there more frequently, but it's just I've never had an experience there when the meal was over, I was like, "Wow, that was spectacular. I can't wait to go back." I've been able to say, oh, this element was good, but overall, like, I'm not in a hurry to get back there. And it's a shame because being over there on the boardwalk, like, I want to love it because I just love that whole area so much. So having a restaurant that I love on the boardwalk would be great, like a nice restaurant, but I don't know. Maybe I need to give it another try because it has been a couple of years now since I've been there. So maybe I need to give it another shot.
All right, so I'm going to come in with a tried and true favorite, and then I'm going to give an honorable mention. So my tried and true favorite, I'm headed over to Narcoossee's for the Gulf Shrimp Bucatini. I have never, ever been disappointed with that dish. It always comes out excellent. It's well balanced. It's tasty. It doesn't sit heavy, especially when you're out there in May or June or July when it's a billion degrees. The ambiance at Narcoossee's is excellent. The service there is always excellent. I saw a couple of years ago, Scott got that before I had tried it, and I saw a photo of it and had to try it, and I have had it every single visit to Narcoossee's since. I go, I look up and down the menu, I think about other things, and I inevitably come back to that bucatini. It's just so good.
So Narcoossee's is another one where I could put one of their appetizers on my list, and it's the shrimp and grits. I think that those are absolutely spectacular. Those are one of the an item that was on the menu before the refurb, and they kept it on there, and it really is, to me, like one of the best appetizers on property. So I'm trying to think of what I've eaten. I think that I had the scallops.
I think
Which
Emily's
were
had the
very
scallops
good.
there before as well. I will say, as far as appetizers go, do not get the lobster bisque. As a New Englander, I have a huge appreciation for lobster bisque. And when you bring me this weird wine tasting, tepid bisque wannabe that doesn't have any lobster in it, it's just a gross disappointment. Call it something else. Don't call it a lobster bisque because that is not a lobster bisque.
That is, I would say the same thing about the lobster bisque at Flying Fish. It is so boozy tasting that that's all you can taste. And I mean, people rave about it, but I found it to be very boozy and very salty. And it's just, it was not lobster bisque to me. That's not how I have come to know lobster bisque.
No, and I know lobster bisque. I mean, I'm from New England, for goodness sake. We invented lobster bisque, and that is not a lobster bisque. All right, my honorable mention, I had this in January, and it would arguably be my overall pick, with the problem being that it is a $115 dish. So when I had it, it was because someone brought me to dinner. We were on a business trip, and they owed me a huge favor. So I had no guilt whatsoever in ordering the $115 steak. But we went over to Bourbon Steakhouse at Dolphin, and I got the Wagyu rib cap. It was life-changing. It is, without a doubt, the best piece of steak I have ever ordered from a restaurant in my entire life. It was amazing. I didn't make it number one because how many people are going to run right out in a Progressive dinner and spend $115 on I think, an 8-ounce piece of meat? But it was 8 ounces of just pure gastronomic heaven.
So yeah, I'll probably never order that unless somebody buys it for me, or unless I've, like, I'm celebrating something big. But I had a similar experience on the Wish with eating something that I felt like I literally needed to close my eyes and just focus on like what I was tasting. And it was when I had dinner at Palo on the last night. And again, as I mentioned, when you're a Platinum Castaway Club member, you get Palo dinner like complimentary. You get $55, which can cover either the prefix menu, or you can order a la carte and you get a $55 credit basically. And so beforehand, I had pre-planned my meal, and I had gone to Hook's Barbary before dinner to have a drink. And the bartender at Hook's Barbary, I told him that I was going to Palo, and he asked me what I was going to get. And I told him, and he said to me, you have to get the ossobuco. And now that is totally not like, I used to not eat meat. So that is like,
You're going straight
meat.
into an ossobuco.
Yeah. Yeah. And it had like bone marrow on like in the bone on the plate. And but he raved about it and said that like it was the best thing that he's ever eaten. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it because I'm not really paying for it. So why not try it? And it was served over a risotto and it was just spectacular. Like fall off the bone, melt in your mouth, the most delicious flavor. And it's not really something that I ever hear anybody talk about that they get. Everyone either gets a steak or like pasta or pizza from Paulo. Nobody's really talking about the ossobuco. I was so happy that he recommended it because it was seriously like one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten in my life.
Ossobuco always sounds good in theory to me, and then I look at it on the menu and I always back away from it because it just seems like so much.
Like daunting. I mean,
Exactly.
it was very rich, but I ordered for my appetizer, I just got the ahi tuna. So that was pretty light. So I was like, I'll start light and then I'll move into this thing. It was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So if anybody who is listening is going on a Disney cruise and you go to Palo, try the ossobuco because it was amazing.
Okay, moving on to dessert. I'll go first again, and I'm going to say this is maybe my second place, but as we talked about before the show started, I felt like I couldn't go back to where I had my appetizer in order to get dessert. So I am headed over to Liberty Tree Tavern for the vanilla ice cream and vanilla toffee with chocolate sauce. The only reason I picked that honestly is because I wasn't going back over to the Polynesian to get the the dessert from Ohana. That
Hmm.
probably would have been number one, but you throw in some ice cream and some toffee cake, and I'm a pretty happy camper. You could just keep loading that up. You can keep your pork and your turkey and your salad. Just keep bringing me plates full of dessert, and I'll be a happy guy.
So initially, when I was thinking, I again, like I struggled a little bit with this because I'm not really like a sweets eater. I'm much more of a savory person. So the first thing that popped into my head were the churros from Nomad Lounge because I love those and I get those every time I'm there, and I think they're delicious. But then I remembered the No Way Jose, and
Oh, yeah, and with that, you just
I
changed my mind. It's funny you say that because, we made a reservation for some theoretical trip in the theoretical future, and I said to the kids, "The only reason I'm agreeing to beaches and cream is because I can get a No Way Jose. The food sucks, but I'm willing to deal with that in order to get the No Way Jose." So you know what? I'm changing my answer. That is a fantastic response. I'm going over to beaches and cream with you.
Yeah, I mean, that thing is absolutely amazing. I have a child who's allergic to peanut butter, so don't, I would never get it if, when we were on vacation together. But now that I take these trips alone, it's kind of like
I
this
might
guilty
sacrifice
pleasure.
a kid to have a No Way Jose. I'm not lying.
It feels like anytime I eat peanut butter, I feel like I'm kind of like doing something wrong. And so when I
I'm
go,
sorry, kid. What's going to happen is
yeah,
going to happen. I need this
yeah.
Sunday.
So when I'm by myself, I feel like I'm like sneaking into like beaches and cream to like you would think that I was like, like a kid who's like sneaking booze behind the parents' back. I'm like a parent who's sneaking peanut butter behind my kid's back.
I just have visions of you like hiding outside the back door, cramming
Yeah.
peanut butter cookies
Yeah.
or crackers into your face when no one's looking.
Don't laugh. It's not too far from the truth.
Do you have a security camera behind my house?
So I wanted to throw in a little bonus round for a after dinner cocktail. I know that you are not a drinker, so I don't know if you have maybe a coffee or something that
Yeah, I
you
was
like
going
to
to
have.
follow up with one of those. So go ahead and I'll tell you where I'm going.
And the reason why I wanted to mention this is because this was a drink that my sister and brother-in-law, they did a trip to Disney in January, and I had kind of suggested they wanted to do a monorail crawl, and I think that either like Enchanted Rose, like it was too long. I think she wasn't like thrilled with her seats there. So I said to her, well, like, if you're not happy, why don't you go over to Narcoossee's? They have a bar. And I have never done that, but I just suggested, I was like, oh, go over. Maybe you can catch the fireworks. Well, they texted me and they were like, thank you so much for telling us this because we just had the best drink we've ever had.
I wonder if it's going to be Emily's favorite because Emily's got a favorite there too.
It's the salted mascarpone espresso martini. Okay. This thing has it's like a Parmesan cheese crisp that they put in it. And the foam that they put on top of it is like mascarpone flavored. It is like, it's not like a drink. It's almost like I want to call it a dessert, but it also has this savory flavor because of the Parmesan crisp and the mascarpone. Like it's very rich. It was so outstanding and what's funny is as many Disney fans are, I belong to all the Disney Facebook groups and the Disney Day Drinkers Club, and people are always asking like, where's the best espresso martini on property? And I'm also not an espresso martini drinker, but nobody has ever said Narcoossee's. Everyone has opinions about where it is. Nobody has said Narcoossee's. This thing was just like, I was like almost like giggling when I was drinking it because it was like so delicious and so delightful and so unexpected. And so I just needed to mention it because I think people need to know that this thing exists and that it's as outstanding as it is.
Emily would fly down to Narcoossee's just for the key lime pie martini. I think she actually may have had the espresso martini at one point, but she adores that key lime pie martini.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm looking at it right now on the menu. That looks delicious too.
I could just smell it from across the table. It's like, yeah, I could see why you'd like that. And I'm not even a key lime pie kind of guy, but it smells delicious. If we're doing a monorail crawl around after dinner, I'm stopping at Kona and getting a press pot. Their press pot at Kona is phenomenal. Trattoria's, I think, is probably second, but the press pot at Kona is heads and tails better than the Kona counter service coffee that you get, which is still good, but that press pot is amazing. And I have been known to order one and then take a couple of cups with me for the road as we go wander around the resort.
I mean, I typically am not getting coffee at restaurants after dinner because I don't usually get dessert. And so typically my coffee consumption at Disney World is limited to like a cold brew, a Joffrey's cold brew, which I don't love. Like it's sufficient. It gets the job done, but I don't love it. But I mean, Victoria and Albert's, they had the best coffee that I've ever had at Disney World. I mean, one would expect that for the price tag you're getting.
I was gonna say it better be
delicious, but it was so good. And I think we've talked about this before. One of my biggest complaints about Disney World is just it's hard to find have a good cup of coffee. Like every time I leave Disney and come home, I'm so happy to just be able to go get my iced coffee from my local coffee shop or bagel shop. So I'll need to head over to Kona and do that. I've never eaten there, so I mean, I should probably give it a try. And then
it
end
used
with the coffee.
to be a go-to for us, to be honest with you. They had great poke bowls, they had great sushi, and then probably around 2018, 2019, we went back and got the same dinner. And the crazy thing was the bowl was the same size in diameter, but the actual concave portion of it was about 30% of the size it used to be. And the prices had somehow gone up 20%. I think it was the CFOs, we need to, tighten the guest waistline kind of deal.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a huge disappointment because it was always a go-to for us. We walked in and they brought it to the table, looking around like, where's the rest? They've done a number on Port Kona.
Yeah, that is a shame because it's a place that I've, as a Disney World lover, I would like to say that I've been to all of the table service restaurants, but I'm not going to go just to say that I did it. Like, I want to go. I enjoy my meals too much to like sacrifice a meal to something that I know is just mid. So I've made reservations there, and then I always cancel them because I'm just not like initially when I make it, I'm like, oh, I'm excited to try something new. But like the more I think about it, I'm like, I'm actually not excited about this. So I always end up canceling it.
We fall into the same spot, and it's every trip we'll try something new because the kids want to try it. And I think what it's come down to is not that we're stuck in a rut. It's just that we have, for the most part, identified over years and years and years of trips and meals where we are going to get a good meal and where we are going to be disappointed. And we've just narrowed it down to those places that we know it's going to be consistently good. And that's where we end up every single time.
Yeah, because just like you have your favorite rides or shows, you have your favorite restaurants and it becomes part of the experience. So, again, because it's not like you can just pop into this restaurant anytime you want to, you can only go when you're at Disney World. So, you want
And
to,
if you're going to spend the time and the money to get down there and go on a trip, at least for me, because I'm a foodie, there's nothing worse than a disappointing meal. It just casts a pall on the entire day.
yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, I think we progressively ate our way through most of the resort. That worked out well. We haven't talked
I mean,
food
I
in a
think I
while. It
ate
was
10.
time.
I ate 10 appetizers.
Yeah, you said you like small plates. You don't have to finish them all. You could just take a bite or two off of every plate.
Well, that was fun.
All right. We ready to wrap this one up?
Let's wrap it up.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Well, thank you as always for listening along. Our numbers have had a very steady climb in the last few weeks. So we thank you to everybody that has just started tuning in. If you haven't heard it yet, you'll hear it every episode. If you could go to Apple Podcasts, give us a like, a 5-star review, maybe even chat about it on the page. That would be great. Amy?
And if you don't follow us on the Facebook group, you can find us at DVC Clubhouse. We're also on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
Started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.